Hey, what's up, family? And good morning to you. Question for you. How many times does God have to tell you something in order for you to believe it? Does God have to convince you time and time again? Listen, I was listening to a sermon this morning, Dr. Darius Daniels, and he was speaking about Mary. And he said, when God came to Mary, and this is Luke chapter 1, he said, when God came to Mary, he told Mary, basically, you about to have a baby. Okay, this is what's going to happen. You will become pregnant. And she immediately was like, how is this going to be possible? I don't have a boyfriend, I don't have a husband. Like, where's the evidence? Like, this can't be. And the funny thing is, God could have just been like, look, I'm God, I am the Almighty, you just need to believe what it is that I'm telling you. Don't question me. He didn't say that. You know what he did? He said, look at Elizabeth. He said Elizabeth is 6 months pregnant and she was barren. There are several people in the Bible who were barren and not able to have children. So God basically is like, listen, look at my track record. Look at what I have done. And if I did it for her, you already know I can do it for you. Now, God only spoke to Mary one time about this. And I want you to think about, how many times has God spoken to you about your situation? Like, honestly, what has he told you about it in your heart? And maybe he's only told you one time. You might be just like Mary, where you like, God, I'm looking at my situation. I'm looking at my circumstance. And I just don't see how it's possible. God's like, that's because you're not looking at me. That's because you're not trusting in me. I need you to believe. That's what God is saying. No matter what it looks like, maybe he's going to turn it around in a day, in a week, in a year. Like, I don't know. But I know once he tells you and once he says it, you can hold God to his word. You can. But where is your faith? So I do a lot of training. I love Tony Robbins. Like, one day I would love to be on a platform like him. But what I noticed about Tony Robbins is the people who come to see him, they already excited. They juiced up. Okay? They're motivated. So when he comes in, half the work is already done. He like, y'all are already convinced coming into this, which makes my job super easy. Now, it's another thing in my experience, because I ain't on no Tony Robbins level, is when I come in and I'm doing trainings, look, I know the data and the research behind what it is that I'm offering to people, but time and time again, I feel like I'm constantly trying to convince them to believe that something's worked, to convince them that the information is valuable. And that's a hard sell. That's a hard pull. And maybe that's how God feels with us a lot of times. It's like it's taking too much for you to believe what it is that I'm promising you, what it is that I'm telling you. And you shouldn't have to fact check me on every single thing. You can look back over your life. I shouldn't have to say, look at what I did for you in 1994. Look at what I did for your cousin. Look at what I did here and there. God shouldn't have to do that. Now, of course, we can. We can do inventory and look back over our life and say, God, I see the miracles. I see the blessings. I see your grace. Time and time again, big or small. You're constantly doing it. But God wants you to come in convinced and ready and believing and motivated and inspired. And watch him work. Watch what God does next in your life. And act as though It's already done. Don't act as though you're constantly waiting on God to do something. Because if you're listening to me right now, He's blessing you right now with the gift of hearing, with the gift of seeing, with the gift of using your brain and receiving information. He's saying yes to a lot of unasked prayers right now. God wants you to be convinced. So I pray that this information blesses you today. Again, this came from Luke chapter 1. You can go back through and just read all the context behind that. But don't stop. Don't quit. Don't give up. Keep your eyes. God wants you to look at Him, not your circumstance. He wants you to keep your eyes on Him. God bless.